The transport shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Park stepped onto Station Horizon 9 for the first time. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Thousands of aliens filled the massive arrival hall, walking in every direction. Some had scales. Some had too many arms. Some floated instead of walking. Had seen pictures before, but pictures were nothing compared to seeing them in real life. She was 17 years old, average height, with black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore the standard uniform of the Galactic Integration Academy. On her chest was a small patch showing a blue and green planet. Earth, her home, the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy. Noticed how the crowd moved around her. Not close to her, but around her like water flowing around a rock in a river. The aliens kept their distance. Some looked at her with curiosity. Most looked at her with fear. A few looked at her with open disgust. She was used to this by now. Her father had prepared her for this moment. Was a diplomat, one of the first humans to work with the Galactic Collective. He had spent 10 years building relationships with alien governments, trying to prove that humans were not monsters. When the Academy offered to accept one human student as a test, he had volunteered his own daughter. "Show them who we really are," he had told her before she left Earth. "Show them that humans can be kind, can be peaceful, can be trusted." Had promised to try. A floating drone approached her and scanned her face. "Park, human, Earth origin, Class 7. Please follow the guidance lights to Processing Center 4. That was what they called Earth, a planet so dangerous that most galactic species could not survive there for even one day. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too violent. The animals were too deadly. The bacteria and viruses were too aggressive. Even the plants could kill. Humans had evolved on this nightmare world. They had survived ice ages and volcanic eruptions and mass extinctions. They had fought predators with nothing but sharp sticks. They had crossed oceans and climbed mountains and spread to every corner of their deadly planet. To the rest of the galaxy, this made humans terrifying. Followed the glowing lights on the floor until she reached Processing Center 4. A tall alien sat behind a desk. He had scales covering his body and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. His name tag said Administrator, and his species was listed as. He looked at like she was something unpleasant stuck to his shoe. "Human," he said. His voice was cold. "I must inform you of the rules. You are forbidden from engaging in physical contact with other students without explicit permission. You are forbidden from running inside station facilities. You are forbidden from raising your voice above standard conversation levels. You are forbidden from displaying aggressive body language, including but not limited to direct eye contact lasting more than 3 seconds." Listened quietly and nodded. "Any violation of these rules will result in immediate disciplinary action. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." The administrator made a note on his tablet. "You have been assigned to Class 7B. Your dormitory room is on Level 12, Section Green, Room 8. Your roommate request has been. No student volunteered to share quarters with a species. You will have a single room." Felt a small sting in her chest, but she kept her face calm. "I understand." "One more thing." The administrator leaned forward. "I want you to know that I opposed your admission. Many of us did. We believe that allowing a human into this academy is a mistake that will end badly. Prove us wrong if you can." He waved his hand, dismissing her. Picked up her single bag of belongings and walked toward the dormitory levels. The hallways were wide and bright, filled with students from dozens of different species. She saw tall, bird-like creatures with rainbow feathers. She saw short, furry beings that walked on 4 legs. She saw things she could not even describe. All of them moved away from her as she passed. She found her room easily. It was small but clean, with a bed designed for human proportions and a desk with a computer terminal. The window looked out into space, showing millions of stars against the blackness. sat on the bed and looked at that view for a long time. She thought about home, about her father and her mother and her younger brother, about her friends at her old school in Seoul, about the smell of rain and the taste of her grandmother's cooking and the feeling of grass under her feet. She was very far from all of that now. The next morning found her classroom. Room 7B was large, with seats arranged in a half-circle facing a central teaching platform. About 30 students were already there when she arrived. The moment she walked through the door, every conversation stopped. She found an empty seat in the back corner and sat down quietly. The other students whispered to each other. Human ears were sharp enough to hear most of it. Is that really a human? Look at her eyes. They face forward like a predator. I heard they eat other animals. They cook flesh over fire and consume it. My parents said humans can break bones with their bare hands. Why would the academy let one of them in here? Pretended not to hear. She pulled out her tablet and focused on the screen. The instructor arrived a few minutes later. He was another, taller than the administrator, with darker scales and a scar across his face. He wore the black uniform of a senior teacher. "I am Instructor," he announced. His eyes swept across the room and stopped on. "I see we have a new student, the human." He said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. "Stand up, human. Introduce yourself." Stood, every eye in the room turned to her. "My name is Park. I am from Earth. I'm happy to be here and I hope we can all learn together." Instructor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Happy to be here, how nice." He turned to the other students. "Class, I want you to remember something. Humans come from everything about them is designed for violence. Their muscles are dense. Their bones are thick. Their reflexes are fast. They are built to kill." He looked back at. "But this is the Galactic Integration Academy. Here we are civilized. Here we solve problems with words, not with violence. I hope our human guest can learn this lesson." Sat back down, her face showed nothing. But deep inside her chest, something cold settled into place. She recognized that look in Instructor's eyes. She had seen it before in different faces in different situations. It was the look of someone who had already decided to hate her. This was going to be a very long year. 6 weeks passed at the Galactic Integration Academy. Learned many things during this time. She learned which foods in the cafeteria were safe for humans to eat and which ones would make her sick. She learned that the library had books in over 800 languages and that the translation software in her tablet could handle most of them. She learned that space was very quiet at night and that sometimes the silence was louder than any noise. Most importantly, she learned that she was alone. The other students avoided her. They did not sit next to her in class. They did not talk to her in the hallways. They did not look at her if they could help it. Ate her meals by herself at a small table in the corner of the cafeteria. She studied alone in her room every evening. She walked the station corridors alone, always keeping her pace slow and her movements gentle, trying not to scare anyone. It was exhausting, but kept her promise to her father. She stayed polite. She stayed quiet. She did not complain. Instructor made everything harder. He never missed a chance to remind the class that was different. He called on her first for every difficult question, then mocked her when she answered correctly. "Even a human can memorize facts," he would say. "That does not mean she understands them." He marked her assignments harder than anyone else. Would write a perfect essay and receive a score of 60%. She would solve every problem on a test and receive comments about her primitive reasoning methods. When she asked for explanations, would smile his cold smile and say, "Perhaps education standards are simply lower than ours." The other teachers were not as cruel, but they were not kind either. They treated like a problem they wished would go away. Then one day something changed. Was sitting alone in the cafeteria, eating a bowl of something that was almost like rice but not quite, when a small figure climbed onto the seat across from her. looked up in surprise. The creature was tiny, barely reaching shoulder. She had soft blue fur covering her body and 4 thin arms that moved constantly. Her face had large dark eyes and a small mouth that curved upward in what might have been a smile. She was one of the smallest species in the galaxy, known for their curiosity and their gentle nature. "Hello," the small alien said. "My name is—" She made a sound that was like wind chimes mixed with clicking insects, completely impossible for a human throat to produce. Blinked. "I am sorry, I cannot say that name." "I know, human mouths are not designed for our language. You can call me something else, something human." Thought for a moment. "How about it is a name from my country? It means spring." The little alien's eyes brightened. "Yes, I like this. I am now." "I am. I know who you are. Everyone knows who you are." Leaned forward, all 4 of her hands pressed flat on the table. "You are the human, the most interesting person on this entire station." Did not know what to say. No one had called her interesting before. Dangerous, yes. Scary, yes. Primitive, yes, but never interesting. "I have so many questions," continued. "Is it true that your planet has liquid falling from the sky, like water just falling down on everything?" "Yes, we call it rain." "Amazing. On my world, water is very precious. We live underground where it is safe. The surface is too hot." 4 arms waved with excitement. "Is it true that you eat other animals, that you kill them and cook their bodies and put them in your mouth?" "Some humans do. I do not. I only eat plants." O seemed slightly disappointed, but only for a moment. "What about fire? Is it true that humans can create fire whenever they want?" "Well, not exactly whenever we want. We need tools, matches or lighters or—" "But you are not afraid of fire. You can touch it and not die." "We can burn just like anyone else. But yes, we use fire for many things: cooking, heating, light." Made a sound of pure wonder. "Your planet sounds like a nightmare and a miracle mixed together." Laughed. It was the first time she had laughed since arriving at the academy. "I suppose it is both." From that day on, sat with at every meal. She followed to the library and asked endless questions about Earth. She walked with through the corridors, completely unafraid, chattering happily while the other students stared in confusion. "Why are you not scared of me?" asked one evening. Tilted her head. "Should I be? Everyone else is. Everyone else is stupid." 4 arms crossed over her chest. "They look at you and see a monster because that is what they were told to see. I look at you and I see a person. A lonely person who smiles at small things and speaks softly and moves carefully so she does not frighten anyone. That is not a monster. That is someone trying very hard to be kind." Felt her eyes grow wet. She looked away quickly. "See," said gently, "monsters do not cry." Their friendship did not go unnoticed. Instructor began watching them with narrow eyes. He started calling on more often in class, asking her difficult questions, pressuring her until she made mistakes. He gave her lower scores on her work. He made comments about poor judgment and dangerous associations. One day he kept after class. "I see you have made a friend," he said, his voice soft and cold. "Yes, sir." "The girl, you call her," walked slowly around his desk. "Do you know that her family is politically important on her, that her father is a senior member of their government?" Said nothing. "I wonder what her father would think if he knew his daughter was spending time with I wonder if he would approve," smiled. "Perhaps someone should inform him." "Is that a threat, sir?" Smile grew wider. "It is advice for both of you." That night told what happened. She expected to be scared. She expected to pull away to protect herself and her family. Instead, small face twisted with anger. "He is a bully," she said. "A small, mean, terrible bully who hurts students because it makes him feel powerful. I do not care what he thinks. I do not care what my father thinks. You are my friend, my first real friend at this academy. I will not let anyone take that away." She reached out with one of her 4 small hands and touched his arm. Stared at that hand. No one had touched her voluntarily since she arrived. Everyone was too afraid. But was not afraid. "Thank you," whispered. "Do not thank me, just promise me something." "What?" His dark eyes were serious. "Promise me that if he pushes too far, you will not let him win. Promise me that you will stand up for yourself. You spend so much time trying to be small and quiet and safe. But you are not small, you are strong. Stronger than anyone on this station. Sometimes strength is staying quiet, but sometimes strength is saying enough." Looked at her tiny friend for a long moment. "I promise," she said. She did not know how soon she would have to keep that promise. Physical conditioning was the class hated most. Not because it was difficult, that was the problem, it was too easy. The exercises were designed for the average galactic citizen, beings who had evolved on gentle worlds with low gravity and mild weather, beings whose bodies were optimized for efficiency, not survival, beings who had never needed to run from predators or fight for food or endure extreme temperatures. For these beings, the exercises were challenging, for they were simple. She tried to hide it at first. She moved slowly during running drills. She pretended to struggle during strength tests. She faked tiredness during endurance exercises, but hiding was difficult and Instructor was watching. He always watched. The day everything changed started like any other physical conditioning class. 20 students gathered in the large gymnasium. The room had high ceilings and soft floors designed to prevent injuries. Various exercise machines lined the walls. In the center was an open space used for group activities. "Today," Instructor announced, "we will practice reaction training." He pressed a button on his control pad, and several small drones floated out from a storage compartment. They were the size of fists, covered in soft padding. "The exercise is simple. The drones will fly toward you. You must dodge them. The computer will track your reaction speed and movement efficiency." The students lined up. One by one, they stepped into the testing area and faced the drones. The machines flew at moderate speeds, giving the students plenty of time to react. Most did well enough. Some got hit once or twice. Everyone completed the exercise without problems. Then it was turn. She stepped into the testing area and stood in the center. The drones powered up, their small motors humming. "Begin," said. The first drone flew toward her head, stepped aside. It missed by a wide margin. The second and third came together, ducked and twisted, avoiding both without effort. More drones joined the attack. 4, 5, 6. They came from different angles at different speeds, trying to catch her off guard. Moved through them like water, never stopping, never slowing, her body responding before her mind even registered the threats. This was what millions of years of evolution had built. Not for sports or games, but for survival. On Earth, slow reactions meant death. Every human carried this inheritance in their bones and muscles and nerves. The ability to see danger coming and move before it arrived. To the watching aliens looked like magic. She was there, then she was somewhere else. Her movements were smooth and precise, wasting no energy, creating no unnecessary motion. The drones could not touch her. The other students stopped talking. Even the ones who hated her watched with wide eyes. Instructor's face grew darker and darker. "Increase speed," he commanded. The drones moved faster too. Maximum difficulty. The drones became blurs. Normal eyes could barely track them, but was still dodging, still dancing, still untouchable. There was almost a smile on her face now. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she was not pretending. She was not holding back. She was simply being what she was. Human. The exercise continued for 3 minutes, then 4, then 5. The other students had lasted 30 seconds at most, showed no signs of stopping. Finally, Instructor slammed his hand against the control pad. The drones stopped and returned to their storage compartment. Enough. Stood in the center of the testing area, breathing normally, not even sweating. She looked at Instructor and waited. The room was completely silent. Walked toward her. His steps were slow and heavy. His yellow eyes burned with something that might have been anger or might have been fear, probably both. "You think you are special," he said quietly. "You think being fast makes you better than us." "No, sir. I was just completing the exercise." "Do not lie to me, human." He stepped closer. They were almost face to face now. "I know what you are. I know what all of you are. Killers, predators, monsters pretending to be civilized." Said nothing. She kept her eyes down, her posture small, everything her father had taught her about staying non-threatening. "My grandfather served on the first contact mission to Earth," continued. His voice was getting louder. "Do you know what he found there? Violence, war, suffering, humans killing each other over land and resources and ideas, humans destroying their own planet, humans treating other species as food." Students were backing away now, pressing against the walls. "The collective should have quarantined your world, should have built a wall around Earth and left you to destroy yourselves. Instead, they decided to be merciful. They decided to give you a chance, and you waste that chance by coming here to my class and showing off like a trained animal." "I was not showing off, sir. I was." "Do not speak to me." His hand moved fast, faster than expected. His clawed fingers struck her across the face with full force. The sound echoed through the gymnasium, sharp and loud like a branch breaking. Stumbled back one step. 3 parallel cuts opened on her cheek, drawn by his claws. Red blood, bright and alien in this place of blue and green and purple blood, ran down her face and dripped onto the floor. No one moved. No one breathed. Raised her head slowly. She looked at Instructor, and for the first time she did not look down. She did not make herself small. She did not try to be non-threatening. She looked at him the way her ancestors had looked at predators in the tall grass, the way they had looked at enemies across battlefields, the way they had looked at anything that threatened them or the people they loved. Instructor took a step backward before he could stop himself. Because he finally saw it. He finally understood what he had been looking at all along. Not a student, not a child, not a primitive creature from a primitive world. He was looking at the top predator of a death world. He was looking at something that had clawed its way to dominance on a planet that tried to kill it every single day. He was looking at something that had been holding back, had been gentle, had been kind. He was looking at something that had just decided to stop. Reached up and touched the blood on her cheek. She looked at the red on her fingers for a moment, then looked back at. "You should not have done that," she said. Her voice was calm, quiet, steady. That was the most terrifying part. A student near the door whimpered. Another one made a sound like crying. The students, with their fragile bones and thin skin, pressed themselves flat against the wall, trembling. Only, standing in the far corner, did not look afraid. She looked proud. "Apologize," said. His face twisted. "What did you say to me?" "You struck a student, in front of witnesses, against every rule of this academy." His eyes never left his face. "You have 10 seconds to apologize. If you apologize, I will forget this happened. I will go back to being quiet and small and harmless. I will let you keep your job and your reputation and your pride." She paused. "If you do not apologize, I will show everyone in this room exactly what a human can do when she stops being nice." The blood kept dripping from her cheek, red drops falling on the white floor. "1," she said. 2, 3. Should have apologized. Any intelligent being would have seen the danger and backed down, but was not thinking clearly anymore. He was angry and scared and humiliated, and all of those feelings turned into more anger. "You dare threaten me," he laughed, but the laugh sounded wrong. You are nothing. You are an animal from a cursed rock. Your entire species is a mistake the collective should have. Tan said. And then she moved. Later, when the security officers reviewed the footage, they had to slow it down to 1/10 speed just to understand what happened. At normal speed, simply disappeared from one place and appeared in another. Even the advanced cameras could barely track her movement, but did not experience it as fast. To her, time seemed to slow down. Every detail became sharp and clear. She saw the individual scales on his face. She saw the tiny movements of his muscles as fear finally reached his brain. She saw his hands start to rise in a defensive gesture that would never be completed. She crossed the distance between them in less than 1 second. Her body knew what to do without thinking. This was not something she had learned at school or from books. This was something written into her DNA, passed down through countless generations of survivors. Her ancestors had fought with stone axes and wooden spears. They had hunted animals 10 times their size. They had killed and died and evolved until violence became as natural as breathing. Did not want to kill Instructor. She had promised her father she would be peaceful. She had promised herself she would not become the monster everyone expected her to be. But she wanted him to understand. She wanted him to feel, just for a moment, what it was like to be helpless, what it was like to face something stronger and faster and more dangerous than yourself, what it was like to be prey. Her palm struck his chest, not a punch, not a claw, just an open palm hitting the center of his body with precise force. The impact was calculated perfectly, hard enough to hurt, hard enough to damage, not quite hard enough to kill. On Earth, this strike would have knocked a human down and left them gasping for air. Painful but survivable. Humans had evolved strong rib cages and resilient organs to survive exactly this kind of trauma. Had not. Species came from a world where the gravity was 1/3 of Earth's, where the largest predator was the size of a house cat, where violence was rare because there was no need for it. Their bodies were tall and light, built for efficiency, not durability. Their internal organs were protected by thin bones that would break under forces that a human could easily survive. Strike Hit's cardiac cluster had 3 hearts arranged in a triangle pattern in their chest. The shock wave from the impact disrupted all 3 simultaneously. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His legs collapsed under him, and he fell to the floor like a puppet with cut strings. His scales began turning pale, almost white, as his blood circulation failed. He was dying. Stood over him, looking down at his trembling body. Blood still dripped from the cuts on her cheek, falling onto his chest like red rain. "On my planet," she said, "we have a saying, do not start fights you cannot finish." She turned away from him and faced the classroom. 20 students stared at her with expressions of pure terror. Some were crying. Some were frozen, unable to move. Some had fallen to the floor, their legs too weak to hold them. His voice was calm and clear. "Someone should call the medical team. He will die in about 2 minutes if you do not." For a long moment, no one moved. Then ran toward the door. Her small legs carried her faster than had ever seen her move. "Medical emergency in Gymnasium 3, she screamed into the corridor. "Medical emergency, someone is dying." Other students finally unfroze. They pulled out communication devices and called for help. They backed away from, pressing against the walls, never taking their eyes off her. Walked to a bench near the wall and sat down. She pulled out a small cloth from her pocket and pressed it against her bleeding cheek. Then she waited. The medical team arrived in 90 seconds. 4 doctors rushed into the gymnasium with floating stretchers and emergency equipment. They surrounded his body, injecting him with medicines, attaching machines to his chest, working frantically to restart his 3 failing hearts. Watched without expression. Security officers arrived next. 8 of them, carrying weapons that did not recognize. They surrounded her, pointing their weapons at her chest and head. "Human Park," the lead officer said. "You are under arrest for assault on a faculty member. Do not resist." "I will not resist," said. She held up her empty hands. "I will cooperate fully." They put restraints on her wrists and ankles. The restraints were designed for dangerous prisoners, made of materials strong enough to hold species much larger than humans. Could have broken them if she tried. She did not try. As they led her out of the gymnasium, she passed by the medical team still working on. One of the doctors looked up at her and saw something strange in her eyes. Not just fear, something else. Respect. Was taken to a holding cell in the security section of the station. The cell was small and bare, with a hard bed and a single light. The walls were made of reinforced metal. The door was thick enough to stop an explosion. She sat on the bed and waited. Hours passed. No one came to speak with her. No one brought food or water. She did not complain. She sat quietly thinking about what she had done. Had she been right? Had she been wrong? She did not know anymore. Had struck her first. He had humiliated her for weeks. He had threatened her only friend. By any reasonable standard, she had acted in self-defense. But she had also nearly killed someone. She had shown the entire galaxy what humans were capable of. She had confirmed every fear and prejudice that aliens had about her species. Her father would be disappointed. Her mother would be worried. Her brother would probably think she was cool, but he was only 12 and did not understand the situation. The door opened, looked up. Administrator stepped into the cell, the same scaled who had processed her arrival weeks ago. He looked at her with an expression she could not read. "Instructor is alive," he said. "Barely. His hearts were restarted, but he has suffered significant damage. He will need months of treatment." Nodded slowly. "I am glad he survived." "Are you?" Administrator tilted his head. "You could have killed him easily. The medical team said so. The force you used was precisely calibrated to cause maximum damage without death. They said it would have required perfect knowledge of anatomy and perfect control of your own strength. I did not want to kill him. I wanted to stop him." "Why? He struck you. He humiliated you. By the laws of many worlds, you would have been justified in killing him." Met his eyes. "Because killing is easy. Living with what you have done is hard. I wanted him to live with what he did. I wanted him to remember every day that he attacked a student and lost, that a human child showed him mercy he did not deserve." Administrator was silent for a long moment. "The investigation will take several weeks," he finally said. "There is footage from multiple angles. There are witnesses. The evidence clearly shows that Instructor struck first and that you gave him a chance to apologize before responding." "Will I be expelled?" "That has not been decided yet." He paused. "But I will tell you something, human, something I never thought I would say." He stepped closer to the cell bars. "I was wrong about you. I thought you were dangerous because of what you could do. Now I understand that you are remarkable because of what you choose not to do. You could have killed him in front of everyone. Instead, you gave him 10 seconds to save himself. When he refused, you stopped his hearts. And then you told someone to call medical, knowing that they might save him." He shook his head slowly. "That is not the behavior of a monster. That is the behavior of someone with more self-control than I have ever seen." He turned and walked toward the door. "Someone will bring you food soon. The investigation begins tomorrow. I suggest you rest." The door closed behind him. Lay down on the hard bed and looked up at the ceiling. Her cheek still hurt where had cut her. But already she could feel the wounds closing, the human healing factor doing its work. Tomorrow would bring questions and judgments and consequences. But tonight, for the first time since arriving at the academy, did not feel alone. She had stood up for herself. She had kept her promise to. And she had shown the galaxy that humans were not mindless monsters. They were something far more dangerous. They were monsters who could choose when to be monstrous. Closed her eyes and slept. The investigation lasted 3 weeks. During that time, remained in her holding cell. She was allowed visitors for 1 hour each day, came every single day, pressing her small face against the bars and telling everything that was happening outside. "The whole station is talking about you," said on the 3rd day. "Not just the students, everyone, the workers, the merchants, the diplomats. You are the most famous person on Horizon 9. "Famous is not always good," said. "No, but this time it might be." His 4 arms waved excitedly. "People are angry at Instructor. There are recordings from the gymnasium. Everyone has seen them. They saw him hit you. They heard the things he said. They saw you give him a chance to apologize. And they saw me nearly kill him." "Yes, but they also saw why." His voice became serious. "Other students have come forward, students that bullied before, students he failed unfairly, students he threatened. He has been doing this for years, but no one was brave enough to report him." "What changed?" Smiled. "You did." The formal hearing took place in the Academy's main assembly hall. It was the largest room on the station, usually used for graduation ceremonies and important announcements. Today, it was filled with investigators, administrators, legal representatives, and witnesses. Sat at a small table in the center of the room. She wore a clean uniform that someone had provided. The cuts on her cheek had healed completely, leaving no scars. Human regeneration was very efficient. The hearing board consisted of 5 members from different species. They sat on a raised platform, looking down at the proceedings. The chairman was an ancient with wrinkled, translucent skin and tired eyes. "This hearing will determine the appropriate response to the incident in Gymnasium 3, the chairman announced. "We will review evidence, hear testimony, and make a recommendation to the Academy Council." The evidence was overwhelming. 17 cameras had recorded the incident from different angles. The footage showed everything clearly: his escalating hostility, his verbal abuse, his physical attack on, her warning, his refusal to apologize, her response. 12 students about what they had witnessed. Their stories matched the recordings perfectly. Several of them also talked about other incidents, other times when had bullied or mistreated students. Teachers about's academic record, perfect scores that had been marked down unfairly, excellent work that had received harsh criticism, a pattern of discrimination that was now obvious. Medical experts about the precise nature of strike. They explained that she had used exactly enough force to incapacitate without killing him. "This level of control is remarkable," one expert said. "Most beings in a combat situation cannot regulate their force this precisely. The human deliberately chose non-lethal response when lethal force would have been easier." Finally, herself was allowed to speak. "I came to this academy because my father believed in the possibility of understanding between species," she said. Her voice was steady. "He believed that if I showed kindness and patience, others would learn that humans are not monsters. For weeks, I tried to prove him right. I accepted insults. I accepted unfair treatment. I accepted isolation. I did everything I could to be small and quiet and harmless." She paused. "But there is a limit. When Instructor struck me, he crossed that limit, not because of the pain. The cuts were minor, but because of what his action represented. He believed he could hurt me without consequence. He believed that because I was human, because I was different, the rules did not protect me." Looked at the hearing board directly. "I gave him 10 seconds to apologize, 10 seconds to admit that what he did was wrong. He chose to use those seconds to insult me, my species, and my entire planet. So I showed him that humans are not harmless. We choose to be peaceful, but we do not have to be." She took a breath. "I do not regret defending myself. I do regret that my defense caused serious injury. If I could go back, I would still defend myself, but I might choose a less harmful method. I am still learning. That is why I came to this academy, to learn. The hearing board retired to consider their decision. Waited in a small room with, who held her hand tightly with two of her four small hands. After 3 hours, the board returned. The chairman read the decision aloud. Regarding the conduct of Instructor, the board finds that Instructor engaged in systematic harassment of student Park over a period of 6 weeks. The board further finds that Instructor initiated physical violence against a student, a serious violation of academy policy. Instructor's teaching license is permanently revoked. He is banned from all educational institutions within the Galactic Collective. Murmurs spread through the assembly hall. Regarding the conduct of Student Park, the board finds that Student Park acted in self-defense after being physically attacked. The board notes that Student Park provided a warning before responding and that she deliberately limited her force to non-lethal levels. While the response resulted in serious injury, the board finds that this was a proportionate reaction given the circumstances and the student's evolutionary background. The chairman paused. Student Park is cleared of all charges. She may return to classes immediately. The assembly hall erupted. Some people cheered. Some people protested. Most simply talked in loud, confused voices. Threw all four arms around and squeezed. You did it, you won. Hugged her back, feeling tears in her eyes for the first time in weeks. We did it together. Returning to class was strange. The other students still watched carefully, but the fear was different now. It was mixed with something else. Curiosity, respect, even admiration. A tall student approached her on the second day. He was one of the species with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. I wanted to apologize, he said, for how I treated you before. I was afraid because I did not understand. Now I understand better. You are not a monster. You are just different. Thank you, said. That means a lot. More students approached her over the following days. Some apologized. Some asked questions about Earth and humans. Some just wanted to talk, to know her as a person rather than as a threat. The academy implemented new policies. Teachers received training on dealing with students from high-gravity worlds. New rules prohibited discrimination based on planetary origin. A support system was created for students who felt isolated or mistreated. His father sent a message from Earth. I heard what happened. I am proud of you, not for fighting but for trying everything else first, for giving him a chance, for showing control when you could have shown violence. That is what it means to be human, not that we are strong but that we choose how to use our strength. Read the message 3 times, and then saved it in a special folder. Months passed. Finished her first year at the academy with the highest grades in her class. She made more friends, though remained her closest one. She joined clubs and activities. She became, slowly, a normal student rather than a feared outsider. On the last day before summer break, she sat with in the cafeteria. They were eating the strange, not-quite rice dish that had become their favorite. Next year will be different, said. More human students are coming. The collective approved 5 more exchange positions. I know, smiled. I hope they have an easier time than I did. They will because of you, reached across the table with one small hand. You showed everyone that humans can be trusted, that you are dangerous, yes, but also kind, also patient, also forgiving. That is more important than being strong. Looked around the cafeteria. Students of a dozen different species sat at tables, eating and talking and laughing. Some of them looked at her as she passed, not with fear anymore, just acknowledgement, recognition. She had come here as a monster. She was leaving as something else entirely. A bridge between worlds. A proof that different did not mean dangerous. A human. Come on, said, standing up. The shuttle to the transport hub leaves in an hour. I will walk you to your gate. And then you go home to Earth. Yes, for 3 months. I will see my family and eat real food and feel real rain on my face. She paused. I will miss this place, though. I will miss you. stood up and took's hand. "I will miss you too, but you will come back, and I will be here waiting." They walked together through the corridors of Station Horizon 9, two friends from different worlds, one small and blue and fragile, one strong and fast and dangerous. Both of them smiling. The galaxy was vast and strange and sometimes cruel, but it was also capable of change, of growth, of understanding. Had helped it take one small step in that direction. And that, she thought, was worth all the pain,